Hello, pursuers. Welcome to another episode of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. I am your podcast host, Noz. We haven't done some pursuer questions in a while, so let's do an episode of that where I answer some of the pursuer questions. I've been moving and just juggling so many things, so my apologies, but today we will get into it. It's so funny when some of these questions are dating advice, and I'm just like, y'all, I would be the last person to be able to help you with anything dating. Okay, so please don't put me on the spot like that. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know what it is. I'm not the best with that type of stuff. So I don't want to be giving advice to people and what I say is completely wrong, I do see a really good question here though, and it kind of goes up my alley. So I'm going to start off with that. It says, I can't stop binge eating when I'm stressed. Any advice? This speaks to me because I am a bodybuilder, and I think that type of lifestyle stems from just being able to control what I do, and especially in terms of food. Oh God, this is going to be a tough one, but I'm going to get into it. Okay. There's so many things that I could tell you. I've tried it all. I naturally binge eat myself, and part of the reason, and I'm not a therapist by any means, but I'm very self-aware, so I just go off how my life has been my entire life. Part of it is I grew up in a Persian household. I'm Iranian, and we eat a lot of food. There's lots and lots of food, and so when it's time to have dinner and whatnot, and first of all, I've had a lot of people ask me prior, they're like, did you grow up in a big family? Because typically when people, this is what I've heard. This is the Canadian or American type of rumor that I've heard, that when you grow up in a big family and food is scarce, you eat fast so that you are able to have your share at least. I can say for sure that that wasn't me. I did not grow up in a big family at all. It was just me, my brother, my mom, and my dad. And I remember only one incident that we were at a family's house, and actually we were living in Red Deer, Alberta. Alberta is a province in Canada for my American friends. It's just like saying Nevada or California. I lived in Red Deer, Alberta in the country, and we had come out to Vancouver actually. So now I live in Vancouver, but when I first came out to Vancouver to visit our family, I had gone to our family's house, and I had my food sitting there, and I was so excited to eat, and I still remember. This is how it I don't want to say traumatized me, but this is how I remember. There's this Persian thing, and it's at the bottom of the rice when it gets really crispy. We call it tadig. And I had mine sitting on the side because I always eat it last because I love it. It's crispy and it's just oily and it's so good. And I remember my uncle, it wasn't a big piece, it was a small piece, as a joke, swiped it off of my plate and ate it. And I remember it so well, but I don't remember my eating habits starting to come out of that type of incident. And I'm digressing here, but that's just in line with what people say. If you're from a big family, you might eat fast or eat a lot because you're afraid that you won't get more food if you don't. If you don't have your share right away, somebody else will. That's the only incident I remember of that. But no, typically we are not a big family. We actually grew up really loners. My parents would fight with all our family, so we weren't fortunate enough to grow up with a lot of family. And because we had just come from Iran, it was just me, my mom, and my dad. And my brother was born in 89, so a year after we had come from Iran. There wasn't a need when it was just us to try to eat my food fast. But one thing I do know about Persian households is that it's offensive if you don't eat their food. Very similar to Italians. They make lots of food. They are feeding you seconds, thirds. My mom even tells my daughter a story that when Noz would go on a plane, she was always the quietest baby. People were always so amazed. And my daughter is like, well, why? Why was my mom like that? And my mom, who's my daughter's grandma, will be like, oh, because I just kept stuffing her. I just kept feeding her. And we kind of chuckle at that. But I think that unbeknownst to me, it caused a lot of trauma around food. And by trauma, it does not necessarily a negative thing, although I guess it could be. It created a lot of how I shaped my eating habits as I grew older. I look at photos of myself as a young child and I was very, very thin, not like skinny, skinny, but thin. I wasn't huge. And even now when I look back at photos in high school and whatnot, I wasn't big at all. But genetically, my mom and my grandma have it. They have a little, they have a pudgy stomach, you know? And as I got into bodybuilding in my 20s and 30s, and after I had my daughter, I realized that I have to eat next to nothing. And that's when my abs will show. When I would do bodybuilding shows was the only time. A lot of people store fat in different places in their bodies, right? I would store fat in more in my stomach. So if I'm not following a specific meal plan or I just kind of let myself go, it might look like I'm pregnant. That's my storage place. And then when I start losing weight, it literally like comes from the bottom up and it meets in my hips, and it comes from the top down and it meets right on my waist. So that area kind of holds it for me. And then I got to really work hard to get rid of it. Mind you, it's been years and years and I'm in great shape now, but it's just, that's my body. But me growing up in like Red Deer, Alberta and watching Baywatch thinking like, oh, well, I look like Pamela Anderson. And then harsh reality when I hit high school, I was like, okay, that's not me at all. And you go through all, and at that time I had no idea, but all the signs that kind of lead to an eating disorder. So as I moved through life and I got a little bit older, I realized that I'm showing characteristics of an eating disorder. Even to this day, when I'm almost 42, I pick it out so much more. Like I see it so much more. But binge eating, because this question says I can't stop binge eating when I'm stressed. I feel like it's a term that needs medical attention. Like there's people that overeat, there's people that eat a lot. But when you just have no concept of when to stop and when you're full, I think that it goes beyond just monitoring your eating habits. There's so many temporary fixes. You can start going to the gym. You can start going on a meal plan, counting your macros, whatever you're comfortable with. But after a certain time, and this is just from my own experience, it comes to catch up with you because you're not really tackling the root of why you binge eat. You're just sort of controlling it. I think if it's really binge eating, and again, this is something medical now, you need to really get it checked out. Go talk to someone because they will offer some things that perhaps a fitness coach like myself won't be able to do. I have a fitness client and she is a little bit overweight, one of my fitness clients. And I've been working with her for over a year because I'm a lifestyle fitness coach. I'm not just a coach that is going to throw people into like a 6-week, woo, we lost weight, because what's the point? They're going to gain it back. I work with long-term patients, and clients, and we have gotten to a point where we are finally building really good habits for her. So she's learning things, and I'm using her as an example because she's my most newest client. So we're kind of going through all the baby steps again. A lot of my other clients been with me for a while, or they stay with me for a year and they get to a point that they're so happy now they can do everything on their own. And that's what I want to do. I want to teach women how to do it on their own, but certain things will come up amongst all my clients and I'm able to pick it out. I'm like, you should go maybe talk to somebody about this because this is a reoccurring theme. It keeps coming back. I know a lot of us women, so again, I'm just going to digress a little bit, suffer from food noise. Men too, but I'm just, I'm speaking from relatability to myself. Even when I'm bodybuilding, and a lot of bodybuilders go through this, we cheat and it gets to a point, and that's why sometimes bodybuilding, and I love bodybuilding as a sport, and I don't bodybuild necessarily anymore in competitions. I don't know if I ever will again, but competition-wise, no. But as the sport of bodybuilding, where I'm in the gym and I'm working on my body, I absolutely love it. I love being in the gym. I love just testing my body and pushing it to the limits. But when I would do those shows, especially at such a young age, and not being as self-aware and understanding myself like I do now, it did lead to a lot of much more heavy food trauma. because then I'm so much more harder on myself and I'm beating myself up and I'm like, why can I just not stop eating? And every time I would finish a show, it was so hard for me to just do a reverse diet. I would like rebound so bad where I would gain 20 to 30 pounds because of all the food and the suppression that I had. And I, during those times and those struggles, learned that I suffer from a lot of food noise. And I'm in my 40s and I still yo-yo here, and it's not as bad, my yo-yoing. Like I can stay in great shape for a long time and until the food noise starts to get to me. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's much more common than you think. And I used to joke, just like when people say, oh, I'm so depressed, or oh my God, I could kill myself. You know, like they don't actually mean that. It's just a figure of speech. And I would be like, oh my God, I'm going to go binge. And then people are like, me too. Yeah, I just ate so much. It's like, no, I'm literally going to go on my drive home and buy bags of chips and food and stuff my face until I can't even move or I have to throw up the food. Not because I was ever bulimic. I could never throw up food. I felt so guilty. But like you get to a point that you stuff yourself so much. You're like, what other alternative do I have? And then because I'm so chicken shit to throw it up, I would like try to poop it out. Like I'm telling you guys, it's bad. So when I see something like binge eating, I'm just really, and I'm not validating how you feel. I get it. Trust me. Did you just hear my explanation? I get it. But it's like, is it really binge eating or is it just overeating? Because I think those are two separate problems. I think overeating is much more manageable. I think overeating you can manage. And overeating happens when you are stressed. Me, when I'm anxious, I can overeat and stress eat. But when I'm, like, for example, a family member of mine was in a car accident and literally within 3 days, it just felt like the weight fell off. I was just so, that type of stress, like I couldn't eat. So what kind of stress are you in at that time, right? Stress can either make you overeat or stress can make you not eat. Depends the type of stress. I find that when I'm anxious, I'm more like overeating, but when I'm literally like something bad has happened, that type of stress, like I can't eat. But binge eating is like, it doesn't matter. Binge eating is like an addiction. Binge eating is like alcoholism or a drug addiction or a gambling problem. Like it doesn't judge. It will literally pop up anytime and anywhere. And the food noise is constant. Like just like, and I'm an addict by nature. I'm clean and sober. And sometimes I just sit there and I listen to people or I watch people that can just finish eating and just push their plate away and there's still food left on their plate. And I'm like, you're not going to eat that? I had a girlfriend that I worked with and she would order stuff and she would eat it and then she would just take a couple bites and she would never pack it up either. I would always pack up her lunches and take it with me. I'm like, can I take it if you don't mind? If you don't want to eat it? That's food trauma. Like it could be also money trauma for me in particular because I fluctuated throughout my life. Like grew up, quite poor and then had money and then lost money. So maybe I feel like if I don't eat it, I'm just throwing my money away, like there's just so much around that. But I think that first part of it is being self-aware. Like, is that really what it is? Or is it something a little bit different? So let's say it is binge eating. Let's say this person that sent in this question, I can't stop binge eating when I'm stressed. Well, at least the step one is that you're aware of it. You realize that when you're stressed, that's when you binge. Let's just say if it's an overeating issue, I would recommend for your height and your weight, figuring out what your calorie content is for the day, and base your foods around that. Like break your foods down into 5 foods per day, have 5 meals ready to go and eat them every 2 to 3 hours so that you're not crashing in terms of blood sugar. Because if you crash, then you will go into like an overeating or binge mode, as we call it. You just want to stuff your face because you're so hungry. But with that being said, if it's literally a binge eating, that even won't help because you could have all the meals in the day and you could have everything prepped and you could have eaten them all and really you're full, but you're not. Like, it's not even that you're like hungry. It's just that like you just I don't even want to say bored because that's just another excuse for it. It's like if it's actually binge eating, like it's a huge issue. Like there's no answer about why you really do it. It's just you just do. It's just easy. It's a crutch. And I think that a lot of women that end up being addicts, because I've met them in recovery, I started doing drugs because it kept me skinny. If I'm a girl that's battling with how I look and then I do these drugs that keep me thin, I would say that my addiction actually started from the food noise. And then I found drugs and I was like, this is it. Not because I want to get high, because I want to be skinny. And I was never, because of my ADHD, I was never one of those people that would like do drugs and then like go party. No, I would do drugs and I would like go home and I would clean and I would, like, and I would stay skinny and I didn't need to eat and like the food noise was gone so I could finally concentrate on other areas of my life. But it's street drugs, so how much concentration are you really doing after 20 minutes? But one thing that I just want to say about this question is diet and exercise first and foremost. If it's overeating, it will help. Because once you start building habits around how you exercise and food and exercise, you don't have to be a bodybuilder, but just getting out there and getting your steps in and doing a little bit of weights or a Pilates class a couple times a week, whatever it works for you, it will help with your blood sugar levels and it keeps you hungry a little bit. So then when you're eating your meal, it satisfies that hunger. But if you have no movement at all and you're overeating, that's also not good because then that's going to sort of keep your body in a high stress state because it's just the digestion isn't good. It doesn't know what to do with the food. So let's just call it overeating or you eat too much when you're stressed. Let's start incorporating some activity. Let's just say at least 5,000 steps a day and organizing your food. So putting it in your little glass containers, having at least 5-6 meals prepped out, kind of following a calorie intake for the day. It doesn't have to be necessarily macros, but at least calories so that you know how much you're taking in. If you want to get really nitty gritty, have macros because then you know that you're hitting your protein goal. And typically when you hit your protein goal per meal, which essentially results in your protein goal per day, then you know that you're going to be a little bit more saturated and not necessarily looking for foods to just munch on. One thing that I tell my client who, whenever it's her period, she's like, I just go out of control and I lose control. And for that week, like I just forget all the food that I prepped and I just eat whatever. And now we have it so that before her period comes, we prep her food. So before her period comes, like if it's 2-3 days before, we prep so that once her period hits, she's prepared. And we also prep snacks so that that's why she's not eating a big, giant cake, but she can break it into 2-3 pieces and have one piece per day included in her meals, but just when she's on her period. So it also satisfies that sweet tooth, or if she likes chips, that. And if she does really good with her meals per week, she's followed her calories to the T, then she has a big meal out with her friends or family, and she can save that for the week of when she's on her period, So that's how we kind of build good habits around that. Like you don't have to necessarily throw everything out of the water because you're craving something sweet, but you can work around it. Like, okay, maybe this week you're going to have a couple more sweets than you normally do, a couple more pieces of cake than you normally do. But then when I see binge eating or when I hear binge eating, I have to really break it down. Even with my clients, I'm like, but are you really a binge eater? Or are you just overeating? Because maybe you're just been restricting for so long that now all of a sudden you need to overeat. If you really feel like it's binge eating, then I would make sure to go talk to somebody about that, just so you could be more self-aware, because it never goes away, but at least you're more aware. But and this particular question says, so when I'm stressed, another thing is to really dig deep and even get a journal. And when you know those indicators of, okay, this is going to be a high stress situation, I can feel it, it's coming on. If you were my client, for example, I would be like, have those meals prepared. so that when you're in those stressful situations and you can't control your emotions and you can't control what's going on around you, at least you can control you and what you're eating. Because if you're not able to control the factors that are leading to the stress, and you're also not controlling what you eat, it's also going to affect your mental health, because now you're like, well, I'm a failure. How could I let this happen? My life was all messed up and now this is happening and now I feel fat. And you know what I mean? Like, it compounds. So it's just kind of being aware of when that time has come in terms of stress, or if you're going through a stressful situation. And I don't want to say try to control everything, because things are going to be out of your control, but try to control what you can. So, for example, you're eating, and maybe you're not a food prepper, but maybe when those times or those things happen, it might be wise that just maybe for those 3, 4, 5 days that, there's something that's going on, you have things prepared so that it's on autopilot. Like, you don't, and even if you're not a meal prepper, have your foods lined out. Okay, when I come home, I'm just going to put the meat with the spaghetti, and now we're having spaghetti. So you don't have to think, because sometimes stress can cloud all that judgment. But if you have it written down somewhere, or it's at least you have a plan, and you know that, and I don't want to be so cliche, but if you plan to fail, no, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But I think first and foremost, it's being aware. Okay, when do these things happen the most? Stress. What type of stress? This. How often does that happen in my life? Well, I don't know. But like, for example, if like a bill is missed, that's going to onset some stressful feelings. Okay, great. When those type of things are happening and I have to wait for my next, I'm using an example, guys, my next paycheck to come in, and that time that I have to wait and I'm stressed out, oh my God, are they going to come repo my car or whatever? Like, are they going to come is my phone going to get disconnected? At least you're able to eat what you have planned. And that will help in terms of managing your stress, because also the foods that you eat play a huge effect on your mental health. If you're constantly eating crap, it just, your brain doesn't feel good too, But if you're like eating healthy food and you're getting your nutrients, like, you have more clarity, and, and also, just a side note, when you have stressful times, walk a lot. Just walk, because it really helps to get out there, But if you feel like it's more worse, if you're really tracking your awareness to see how your body responds to stuff like this, I would make sure that you just go talk to one person, because I'm also not a medical doctor, but I do know that there's so many things out there now, like peptides, and peptides are not drugs. They're not steroids. They're amino acids, essentially, that you just inject, and they're becoming more and more common. But if it's really an issue of that, where you have so much food noise, they can, and there's peptides now that they give people, which, and even not even injectables, there's pill form, or there's just so many other things that they can give you to help with the food noise. Not necessarily help with weight loss, but just such a small dose that it can help kind of curb that food noise, so that you're able to just not constantly always think about food, and actually like manage your stress differently. Because not only now are you worried about, oh my God, I'm eating like a pig now, and now I got to worry about all these bills, but you know what I mean? Like, it compounds, and then that puts you in a really fragile and not really productive state either. So I know I got deep on that, but there's just so many layers, and it really starts with identifying, like, is it overeating or is it actually binge eating? That's the best advice that I can give on that. I talk a lot more about this on my website and as a bodybuilder. So great question. I don't feel happy okay, here's another good question. I don't feel happy even when things are going well. What's wrong with me? Nothing. Again, it's going to be a self-reflection question. Like, what do you mean you're not happy? Are you just like, oh, okay, like things are happening, yay. I think that we're so conditioned as a society to have really high highs and really low lows. And I learned this through recovery. Like, I was always like an adrenaline seeker, a dopamine seeker. And one therapist that I spoke to was like, well, why does it have to be so extreme? Why, when something goes well, can I not just be like, okay, something's gone well, let's move on to the next thing? Why, when every little thing goes well, does it have to be such this extreme dopamine rush for you? Part of it, yes, I have ADHD, but we were learning how to manage it, right? And I was like, that's such a good point. And she was like, life, lots of good things happen and lots of bad things happen. And we don't have to give so much. We can give energy to it, but not so much energy that it drains us. And so I think that you're just having a normal reaction. Like, You might not feel happy because like these are some things that you've seen before, or these are things that were supposed to happen anyway. So there's not that like, oh yeah, well I did this, or it's just kind of become monotonous, you know? I think day-to-day things, we've been doing it for so long. It depends how old you are too, but like the rush of it, when it goes well, it's like, okay, and that's life. And with wisdom comes those type of things where you're just like, okay, great, yeah, I did that, and you know, it takes more as we get older. Every year that passes, no matter what age you are, if you're 17 turning 18 or 40 turning 41, when things happen, it takes a lot more for you to really hit that rush. And that's why sometimes with addiction or like just things like ADHD, it's become such a dopamine rush. Like, I'm not going to do it unless I feel that. But like, not everything has to be this great big gauge of, oh my God, yeah, you know, like, let's go part, you know, like it doesn't have to always be so extreme. But then again, like I mentioned, it becomes a self-awareness thing. Like, what do you mean you don't feel happy? Like, what does that mean? Are you just not like cheering and celebrating? Or are you really like, does it put you in a bigger hole? Are you feeling guilty, shame? Like, it's all really self-reflection things. I really encourage people that send me these type of questions to write it down. So now you are tracking when these type of feelings occur, what's happened that you occur. I paid my bills. I should be happy that finally I'm able to pay all my bills on time and I'm not late and I'm not going and spending money that should be going to my bills. Yay. But like, are you not happy when that's happening? Or like, for example, are you getting the promotion that you always wanted and you're just like, oh, yay. And you feel like you should kind of have a bigger reaction for that. I mean, they didn't really get specific, but let's just say it's like, let's just, for example, you did get that promotion, but you're not as happy. You're like, okay, great. Yeah, now I got it. Sometimes you want it so bad and you build it up so bad. There's that dopamine rush that when it finally comes, it's just not as exciting as it seems. Or perhaps, again, a self-reflection thing. Is this really something that you want to do? It's kind of like the guy that always wants the girl, and then finally he gets the girl, or vice versa. The girl that always wants the guy, and then finally gets the guy. And it's like, this is not as exciting as I thought. And then dig deep there. Why did I really think that this was going to change things? I know it happens a lot, and I'm in the fitness world with weight loss. People are like, yeah, once I lose the weight, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And of course, your life changes when you lose weight because you're now, let's say you go get blood work, your levels are better and you fit your clothes better and you have a different kind of aroma to you because you just have this confidence aura. Sorry, I meant to say aura to you. You have this confidence. But then with that being said, your problems don't go away. So if you're having issues with your husband, you're not dealing with it, but instead you lost weight. Okay, maybe for 2-3 weeks, you know, the things were spicy in the bedroom and you guys were excited, but those problems are going to resurface if you don't deal with it. And I feel like people kind of are always, okay, when this happens, then I'll feel like this. And hence why my podcast name is The Pursuit of Happiness, because we're always on this pursuit of being happy. And it's like, it's a moment that is fleeting. Like, you only feel happy for a few moments, and then you need to do something else that will make you happy. And it's not chasing dopamine rushes. Like, that's just an extreme, and that's not going to last for long, and that could become dangerous, not only for your physical health, but mental health. Nothing has to be such an extreme, but happiness moments are fleeting. Like, they're very temporary. It's like, you know, like, oh my God, like, you feel it and then it kind of disappears because just like time, that moment is gone, right? This is kind of getting deep, but you are always on a pursuit. So that's why they say do the things daily, like go for those walks, go to the gym, check in with your friends, you know, meditate. I don't know, whatever works for you, do it daily, because at the end of the day, you're going to realize that those are the things that bring you that momentarily feeling of happiness. Because it's not like once you get to a place of happiness, you stay there. No, life keeps going on. Things keep happening. And that moment will be gone. So now what's the next thing that you're going to do to get there, you know? And it could just be for a moment. Like, yeah, I got the promotion. That's it. And then life goes on. And then that's why it's so important to have the space to really reflect on what it is that you want in life, which direction you're going. I always do these reassessments. I'm more of a person that is a really free spirit. Like I'm always like, okay, I don't want to do this. I'm not happy. So I just find something that will make me happy. For example, my career with my podcast and my website, and me wanting to help people and just give advice on what I know and what I've observed watching other people. Like, no one believed me. No, everyone's like, go get a real job, like, but I always believed in myself. And there were days where I wasn't happy and I was like, oh my God, should I just give this up and do as people say? Because like, it's not really doing what I needed to do. But then I would just do the things daily, go to the gym, record, watch my shows, stop taking my ADHD medication because that was something that I really wanted to do for a long time. And now I find everything is much more even keeled. I don't really have as crazy highs and as crazy lows, but I'm so much more emotionally stable and I love that. And so when a moment does come where I'm stay happy for a lot longer, because I'm always on that pursuit, it's always a pursuit. It's never a destination. It's always a journey. I can enjoy it a lot more. So if you don't feel happy even when things are going well, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. Of course, if you've struggled with mental illness and whatnot, that's something else that you would have to maybe if you have therapy or a counselor, talk to those about, because I think that those are always so good. Don't try to just bottle down your feelings and pretend they don't exist. But if it's just that, things happen and you're not as excited for them as you used to be, maybe it's time for a change, or you're just emotionally stable. Like you don't have crazy highs and lows, and that's okay. Not everything deserves a freaking 3-day bender, just, you're just proud of yourself and then you move on. And that's life. I've learned that that's life. As someone that's an addict and was always chasing those highs, that's just life. So just celebrate your win in that moment and then you just move on. It doesn't have to be a party. It doesn't have to be a bottle of champagne. Doesn't even have to be announced to the world. It's just something that that you've done and you're like happy about it, I love that. See, that in itself is such a win because you don't even have to share it with everybody. You just know. And it's not like I'm sitting here like happy. It's just that I know. It's like a confidence. For the friendships one, it's interesting. Trying to find one that, how do I make friends in my 30s and 40s? Good question. Good freaking question. Because listen, I'm from a city called Vancouver and we are known for it's like New York. Like no one walks around with a smile on their face and we're trying to like make friends with people. Like, no, we avoid people. And that was part of the reason that I moved to Mexico, because I was like, I'm so sick of people being so cold. And then when I was in Mexico for a while, everyone notices you and people are just looking at you up and down. I think, mind you, I'm not saying I'm anything special, but the style is a little bit different. The body types are a little bit different. I'm a little bit more like bodybuilder type. Fashion's a little bit different. The way we speak, me and my daughter are a little bit different. So we were like center of attention. I was like, I cannot wait to go back to Canada where no one notices me. No one wants to talk to me. No one wants to even look at me. I can't wait for that, And now that I'm here, I mean, you still get the looks, but it's not as like you're on like under some sort of spotlight, and then I see a lot of TikToks about people that move to Vancouver and say, how do you make friends in the city? Like everyone's so cliquey. And it's just one of those cities that I've grown up in. And I think it's because of the influence. Like there's a lot of Asian influence. We call it like the Hong Kong influence. Downtown Vancouver looks like it could be Hong Kong. We have a lot of Chinese investors. A lot of my best friends are Asian. My cousins are half Asian. And they're a culture that is very to themselves. They don't really get out there and make friends with brand new people. So because that culture is around us a lot, we kind of picked up on it, us Vancouverites. So I wasn't born and raised in Vancouver, but I've been here since I was, 10 years old. And now I'm almost 42. But I can see this. And I think that I'm a little bit more blessed because I do know people that I've known since I was in grade 5 when I moved here from Red Deer, Alberta. But at the same time, when I go out, I'm just like, and that's another reason why I moved. I'm like, "Ugh, it's useless here. Like the guys here suck. The girls all think that they're something that they're not." So I also struggle with this. But the difference with me is I don't care to have friends, but I know it's important for some people. They don't, I'm very close to my family, so I don't feel the need to have fake friends. A lot of people will just have friends because that's just how they are. They're always on the phone with someone. They're always got to be doing something, and that's okay. But and those type of people that you're just like, I want to say not fair weather friends, but party friends, or like let's go out to eat dinner friends. Yeah, I think that you can find those anywhere. Those are always available. But if you really want to have good friends, even in your 30s and 40s, I think that it's just like a relationship in the way that I think it has to happen organically. It's not just like, oh, I see this person, let's go on some like a friend app and find friends. No, it happens organically. You're at the gym. I know one of my best friends, I was at the gym with her for 3 years, and then finally she approached me. She's like, I've been seeing you here for a long time, blah, blah. That's how we became friends. It's very organic, you know? Um, you don't want to jump in. Allow people to come into your life and you be friends with them at a distance till eventually they prove themselves to you, and then they can stay in your life longer. Because, you know, the whole season, lifetime is so true. People are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I have a friend, she's one of my good friends, and she's just very like, she spills diarrhea of the mouth in her entire life when she first meets somebody, and she doesn't care. I'm a little bit more like, well, this person has to gain my trust. Like, I have to know that I can trust this person, and not that I have anything to hide, but it's just boundaries. Like, that's just my life. I don't want to talk to people about my life unless I know that they're going to be around for a long time. And it's very easy for me to make friends. It's very easy for me to talk. When I start talking to people, I have so much wisdom and things that people are like, you have such great energy, and that's good, but I also don't want to share that with everybody. So I'm also more picky. I'm not one of those people. I'm okay being alone, no friends, no boyfriend, until I find someone that I know is really solid. But not everyone is like that. Some people just want people around because they want people around. And if you're okay with that, then all you have to do is go out there, go to the beach on a sunny day, walk down the street and tell someone that their shoes are nice. Let them break down their walls that way, you know? Um, I wouldn't go to the clubs though. Like, that's somewhere I wouldn't go. Go to the library. If someone's in their section reading a history book, be like, oh my God, I love that book. You know, like, there's so many ways to make friends. And some cities and some places it's easier than others. But I think that if you're just able to chat with people, like, just go up to them, be like, hey, like, that's so cool that you come. Don't make it awkward though. Like, let's go out for drinks. Like, oh, you meet someone in a library, let's go for drinks. No, like, you meet them in a library, be like, hey, would you want to go? There's a play coming out about this book, or, you know, like, let's go check that out. Like, it's got to match, you know? Because I find like a guy will hit on you in the street, and then all of a sudden he wants to take you out for drinks. Like, bro, we were just at the gym. How are we all of a sudden going out for drinks? Like, no. Maybe something more appropriate would be like, hey, you know, you just met someone at the gym. Hey, would you want to go on a hike? Well, let's get a bunch of us together. We'll go on a hike. Boom. Because if you meet at the gym, perfect, you know? Um, Comedy shows, concerts, or, you know, karaoke nights, like these kind of things. Like, our society is so like dinner and drinks, and that's fine as well. Just because I'm not like that doesn't mean nobody else has to be like that. But it's just like, let's step away from that, because if we actually do these activities, let's do an escape room. Let's do a cards night and invite some friends over. Let's do a potluck and watch movies. You know, like, these kind of things will strengthen the friendships that you want, and the people that don't show up because they'd rather go party or do this, you filter those out anyways, and then you're going to start building your core group of friends, you know? But if it's always dinner and drinks, bar this, clubbing this, and if that's what you like, great. But I don't find that genuine and sincere, because if everyone's always fucked up on drugs or alcohol, how are they really making good choices and going to be there for you when you really need it? But hey, I've seen many people become friends that way as well, you know? And then there's the very fortunate people that have been friends since high school, and they don't make any friends. They don't make anyone new. And that's also a form of clique, you know? But I don't think it gets harder. I think that as you get older, and especially in your 30s and 40s, you become, if anything, you should be more confident. And it's like, people should be lucky to be my friend because I'm a good person. If you walk around like that, but not like cocky, but just confident, you're going to have no problem finding friends. And, people are going to be very, very lucky to be friends with someone like you, right? So just think about it that way. Um, this is funny. I'm always a therapist friend. Who do I go to? Good question. Mm, Sometimes I think that, and I'm like, because I am always a therapist friend, it's like I need to find someone that's like, professional to really help me because like I'm always a therapist. It's like, and the way that I think is just so deep. So I hear that. But I think that, if you're always a therapist friend, who do you go to? There's a time for a professional or a consultant. There's those life coaches. I do lifestyle fitness coaching, which is uh, not up the alley of life coaching, but my fitness clients, I do life coach. If they have problems or issues or they turn to food, they call me in that moment and I just walk them through what they're going through. So, and then who do I go to? I've mentioned many times, a therapist because, or those online doctors, or I podcast and I do these type of things because this is what helps me and gets it out. Right. So, um, if you're always the deep one and the therapist friend, you either have to find a mentor that you can go to, or honestly, just go to a therapist. Because I think a therapist is different from a counselor. Like, counselors, like when there's an issue, they help you like through it. Therapy is just, you just go once a week or once every 2 weeks. It's just someone to talk to, someone to just bounce things off of that can either give you some feedback or can just be an ear, a non-biased ear that can just listen to what you have to say. And then you let it all out and it's in a safe space and you just move on, you know? Um, But what an honor to be that therapist friend that people come to you with all their issues and their problems and they they know that you'll have an answer for them that they can't find anywhere else. Like I used to hate it, but now I love that feeling. It's like, people trust me and like they trust what I have to say, and that's always a good feeling, right? So, um, let's see. This is a good one. I feel guilty for wanting to move away from my family, and I did that. And I felt really guilty because my dad had just had a stroke and I was helping, like, me and my daughter were living with him and we were helping him while we lived with him. And then we moved away. And while we moved away, the whole thing in Iran happened. And then we had family that died. So when we came back home for a couple months to visit, because we had a wedding to go to of a cousin of mine, we like to be around the family and we felt, this, it might be better for us to come back. So sometimes moving away really shows you what's important. But at the same time, like when I was moving away, I try not to feel guilty about it because two things can happen. Either I stay and I don't follow my dreams, and then once everyone is gone, I'm left with nothing. And I'm like, why didn't I just follow my dreams? Or I did what I did and I did move away, and moving away and coming back home for a visit made me realize that I actually might be better off at home just for now. Part of it was my daughter wanted to come back and go to school here. She didn't want to go to school internationally. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to make this a failure. I'm going to make this something that's positive. And I learned from that move, even though it was 6 months, I learned from it. And now I'm back home with the family or around the family. And I don't know how long I'll be here. I'm thinking maybe for the next 3, 4 years because I'm also going back to school. Like I figured out a lot of things, but at least like I'm back. But that move made me realize that. So even though initially I was moving away to start a new life and I was moving away from my family, that move made me realize, and so many things happened that brought me back to my family. So you just never know what is around the corner if you actually just pursue what you want to do. Pursue. See how I did that? Um, it's very tough though. And I'm not going to lie about that. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of thought. There's a lot of tears. There's a lot of, well, what if something happens and I'm not there? Um, I just got lucky that life somehow turned it around and brought me back home. And I made the best of it. I was like, okay, so my daughter wants to come back home. God, I don't want to explain to people that now we're moving back because for so long I hyped up moving. But I'm going to go back to school because it was a bucket list of mine to get my bachelor's, go back to school, finish that off. So at least I have a goal for the next couple of years. Been working on my podcast, on my blog, on my brand. But essentially all of that, it all just sort of worked out. And the universe sent me all these signals like, yeah, it's going to work out for you. So if it's something that you really want to do, don't think about it as I want to move away from my family. And if it's just strictly because you want to move away with your family, well, there's a reason why. And don't make your feelings not valid. But if it's because like you just want to go explore, you just want to see, sometimes distance makes the heart grow fonder, and you're going to come back with a different perspective, or it just brings you back, or it really makes you appreciate. I mean, when I was away, I talked, I think, to my family more than when I'm actually here, because you're away. I talk to my friends more because you're away, but when you're in the same city, even though we don't live close to each other, the talking is less. So sometimes it even strengthens those relationships. So don't always look at it as a negative, like kind of do it and obviously have a good purpose. Like, why do you want to? Is it a job? Is it just you want to explore and see something different, see if there's something out there for you? Whatever your purpose is will either bring you back or will include your family. So don't feel so guilty, because essentially at some point, this is going to sound so morbid, people will die and move on. And then what about your life? You know, you can't just put your life on hold waiting for everyone to die around you, that's your family, and then finally when like you're 80, all of a sudden now you can go off and do your own thing. No, that's not good either. I'm sure your family loves you. They want you to find what you love and you like and what makes your heart fulfilled and what fills your love bucket. So you just got to think of it that way, you know? And depending on how you are with your family, trust me, they're going to support your every move and they'll still be there for you regardless. You might miss some moments, but you know what? You're creating your own brand new moments in your own new life that now you can tell them about, right? So anyways, pursuers, I think that's good. I just keep feeling like I'm rambling. If you have any questions, please send them to me because I love answering these. Check out the show notes. You can find my socials there. We haven't done these in a while, but I do love answering them. They're so therapeutic. They're just, it's life. Life happens. And that's why I psychoanalyze these housewife shows, because I'm like, this is so funny. Everyone's always on a pursuit. We're all on a pursuit to just feel the best that we can feel and be at a place that, we're comfortable with. So love that we're on the pursuit together. Please, if you haven't yet, like, subscribe, share anywhere that you can find me on your podcast, Spotify, Apple, everywhere. Stay tuned. We have a couple more housewife episodes coming out this week before we get into another question episode. And like I said, if you have questions, please message me on my socials, or you can find all the information of where you can message me in the show notes. I love answering pursuer questions, so please bring them my way. I am the therapist friend. With that being said, pursuers, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will chat next time.